The makers of the Blue Planet have gone from showing us Earth to pulling us into the abyss. This is the CIGA Design Black Star collaboration with Label Noir, a watch where time moves around a black hole. When I first came across the CIGA Design Blue Planet back in 2021, it stopped me in my tracks. The design was unlike anything I'd seen at the time. The Earth sculpted in 3 dimensions, slowly turning as time passed. It wasn't trying to look like a traditional watch, it was truly something different. And then it went on to win the GPHG Challenge Watch Prize, the first time a Chinese brand had ever done that. This wasn't just a nice headline, it mattered, because it forced a lot of people, myself included, to rethink how we view Chinese watchmaking. For a long time, Chinese watches had been written off by many collectors, cheap, mass-produced, copies. That was the default narrative. And while plenty of that still exists, the Blue Planet was proof that a brand from China could bring original design, solid execution, and a concept that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the best watches from Switzerland, Japan, or Germany. I've had a chance to spend time with the 2 versions of the Blue Planet, the original, and the Blue Planet gilding version. The original was the one that grabbed everyone's attention. It had this domed, richly detailed Earth in the center of the dial, rotating as the minutes passed. It wasn't really the kind of watch you put on your wrist just to know what time it is. You wore it because it was different from anything else you had in your collection. Then came the Blue Planet gilding version, which took that same concept but completely changed the vibe. Ceramic case and bracelet, all blacked out, with the land masses of the Earth finished in gold leaf against black oceans. The gold wasn't just a small detail, it became a focal point of the watch. Against a dark background, it looked sharper, more dramatic, and had this kind of stealth luxury feel. Both watches had, the same core idea, but they each told a different story. And that's something I've always appreciated about CIGA Design. They evolved their ideas in new directions without losing what made the original interesting. The Blue Planet wasn't just a hit with people looking for something different. It actually made a lot of collectors take a second look at Chinese watchmaking. And that's not easy to do. CIGA Design's catalog is pretty mixed. Some of their watches lean toward trend-driven designs, like the skeletonized models that borrow heavily from Richard Mile's aesthetic. But then there are pieces like the Blue Planet and the Black Star where they clearly put the focus on originality and concept-driven watchmaking. That's what really stands out to me. They're willing to experiment, and every once in a while, they land on something that really changes how people see them as a brand. So what happens when a brand like that teams up with a Swiss atelier known for custom high-end work, especially with a sleek all-black aesthetic? You get the CIGA Design Label Noir Black Star. Label Noir has worked with brands like Perle, Maurice Lacroix, and Sistos on custom pieces, and their style is easy to spot. Clean, stealthy, and often built around contrast. That's exactly what's going on here. The Black Star isn't just a recolored Blue Planet, it's a reimagining of the concept. And instead of looking down at Earth, this time you're staring into something much more mysterious. The most obvious change is the dial. Instead of the raised globe, there's now an 8.5mm concave center coated in super black pigment. This coating absorbs 99.6% of visible light, which means that the center doesn't just look dark, it looks like it's not even there. In person, it's a weird effect because your eyes expect to see reflections or detail and you get nothing. When I first saw it, I kept on wondering whether the central region was actually concave or just really dark black. Around this void is a galaxy printed with CMYK gradients, pixelated arcs, and tiny white stars. The only hand is a luminous polar star that orbits the dial, with the hours and minutes tracked by the glowing rings around the outside. If you've handled the Blue Planet, you'll recognize the display. CIGA's asynchronous follow system. The hour ring rotates 30 degrees for every full rotation of the minute ring, so everything moves in a way that feels like you're watching orbital mechanics play out on your wrist. If you've never used this kind of display, there is a small learning curve. The first day or two, you'll find yourself pausing to figure out the time, especially if you're used to glancing at traditional handsets. But once you get it, it becomes pretty easy. And really, that's just part of the charm. This is not the watch you grab when you need to know the time instantly. This is the kind of watch you wear when you really want to look at your wrist a little bit longer. Inside is the CD04S automatic movement. It appears that this is CIGA's in-house movement, and they state that it's Swiss-made. But I wasn't really able to find out much about the movement. I've owned the previous 2 versions of the Blue Planet and never had any issues with the movement, so I'm not that concerned. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour, has a 41-hour power reserve, and is accurate to +15, -30 seconds per day, which I'll admit is a fairly large range. You can see the movement through the display case spec, which is pretty simple. There's no fancy decoration here. On paper, the 46mm size sounds huge, and if this had traditional lugs, it probably would be. But the lug to lug is also 46 millimeters, so the case is perfectly round and it sits more compactly on the wrist than you'd expect. And just to note, I have a 6.75-inch wrist. The titanium keeps the watch light, and the black DLC coating pairs perfectly with the rest of the design. It comes on a black rubber strap, which is soft and comfortable and uses a quick release system so you can swap it out easily. At 15.6 millimeters thick, it's not going to slide easily under any shirt cuff, but it's not going to be a dress watch anyway. But it still feels pretty balanced on the wrist. And this really isn't a watch that you're wearing to stay under the radar. It's meant to be seen. One of the coolest things about the Black Star is how it behaves at night. In daylight, it's a study in contrast, the deep black center against the galaxy print, and in low light, the polar star and both rings glow brightly with superluminova while the center stays completely black. The lume is really functional, it's plenty bright, and really easy to read. The Black Star is $1,980. It's not a limited edition, and it comes in custom packaging made from recycled materials along with a handwritten note from Label Noir. Price-wise, it's a bit above the steel and titanium Blue Planets, but more in line with the gilding version. And whether it's worth it really depends on how much you connect with the design. If you like the Blue Planet but want something with a darker, more minimal personality, this might be the watch. For me, the Black Star feels like the third chapter in CIGA Design's story. The Blue Planet proved that they can make something original that earned worldwide recognition. The gilding version showed that they could rework that concept into something with a completely different feel. And the Black Star shows that they can collaborate with a respected Swiss partner without losing their identity. This isn't going to replace your everyday tool watch or your dress watch, but that's not really the point. Watches like this are about sparking conversation and giving you a different experience when you check the time. I've now reviewed 3 versions of this idea. Each one has made me think differently about what a watch can be. And maybe more importantly, they made me rethink what a Chinese watch brand can be. Would you wear a black hole on your wrist? Let me know in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Thanks for watching.